wondered how a serial killer can remain hidden for so long? And have you ever asked yourself why his true identity remains a mystery, even though law enforcement has investigated for decades? You've probably heard of Zodiac, one of the most haunting criminals in American history. But his story doesn't just end with brutal murders. What truly happened behind those strange letters and uncrackable ciphers? And why, even after more than 50 years, does this case still remain unsolved? First question: why did Zodiac send letters to the press and police, challenging them to find him? Who is the person behind these gruesome acts? And most importantly, why has this case remained unsolved despite over 50 years of investigation? Join me as we unravel every detail of the case, tracking the movements of Zodiac through terrifying murders, ominous phone calls, and cryptic letters sent to newspapers. Can we decode his identity, or will Zodiac remain one of history's greatest mysteries? If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit like, share and subscribe to catch even more thrilling videos about mysterious cases. Let's uncover the truth about Zodiac and find answers that have eluded so many for over half a century. As we delve deeper into the enigma of the Zodiac Killer, we must first understand the chilling scope of his crimes. This case, which has plagued law enforcement for decades, is not simply a story of murder. It is a tale of psychological manipulation, of a mind that craves control, attention, and the thrill of eluding capture. To truly appreciate the magnitude of Zodiac's actions, we must look beyond the mere facts of his crimes and consider the larger implications of his behavior. On the night of December 20, 1968, the Zodiac Killer's reign of terror began in the quiet suburban town of Vallejo, California. Two teenagers, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, were on a date, completely unaware of the horror awaiting them. They were shot in cold blood as they sat in their car, parked in a secluded area. What was striking about this first act of violence was not just the brutality of the murders, but the complete lack of witnesses. The killer left no immediate trace, no compelling motive, and no identifiable suspects. This marked the start of a disturbing pattern. The Zodiac had taken the first steps toward becoming not just a killer, but a figure of fear and fascination. The absence of witnesses and his ability to blend into the background with ease set the stage for what would become a long and drawn-out game of cat and mouse between him and the police. To understand the methods of the Zodiac, we must also understand the timing of these attacks. They were executed with such precision that they seemed calculated to not only inflict harm but to draw the police into a prolonged investigation. As if his actions were not chilling enough, Zodiac began to communicate with the press, cementing his role not just as a killer but as a psychological manipulator. The first of his letters appeared on July 31, 1969, when Zodiac sent a letter to 3 Bay Area newspapers, detailing his crimes and claiming responsibility for several murders. But the most disturbing aspect of these letters was not the content but the ciphers, complex puzzles that, if solved, he promised would reveal more about his true identity. The letters were not merely an admission of guilt, they were a declaration of control. Zodiac understood the power of the media and used it to fuel his fame. Each letter was a direct challenge to the authorities, an assertion of his intelligence and his ability to outsmart the police. These letters, and their cryptic ciphers, became a hallmark of his crimes, ensuring his name would be remembered long after the blood had dried. His first cipher, the 408 cipher, baffled authorities for months before it was partially solved, yet the Zodiac continued to send more, each more difficult than the last. The intricate nature of these codes showed a level of intellectual sophistication, signaling that Zodiac was not only a murderer but a highly strategic individual, one who viewed his killings as a game. One of the most unsettling aspects of Zodiac's crimes was his ability to elude capture. Despite multiple killings and numerous letters to the press, Zodiac was never apprehended, and his identity remained a mystery. This elusiveness is what turned Zodiac into a symbol of terror, as he seemed to be always one step ahead of the police. Each new letter, each new cipher, served as both a taunt and a reminder that Zodiac was still out there. Zodiac's ability to maintain his anonymity for so long also highlights his understanding of the criminal justice system and the psychology of law enforcement. He knew the limitations of the police, and perhaps more importantly, he knew how to exploit those limitations. His choice of victims, young couples in remote areas, allowed him to execute his crimes quickly and efficiently, often without leaving any physical evidence behind. This level of sophistication is what made Zodiac such an enigmatic figure. While many serial killers leave behind a trail of evidence, Zodiac's crimes were carried out with cold, calculated precision. The lack of direct leads and the constant flow of taunting letters kept the police on edge, unable to crack the case. This cat-and-mouse game continued for years, as Zodiac continued to play with the authorities, a figure who reveled in his own control over the situation. In conclusion, the Zodiac case serves as a disturbing reminder of the power of a mind that is not only capable of heinous acts but also of manipulating those around him. His crimes were not just acts of violence, they were calculated moves in a long and twisted game. As we reflect on the events of this case, we are left with the unsettling truth that some mysteries may never be solved, but the legacy of Zodiac's taunts and his ability to remain elusive will continue to haunt us. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth investigations into some of the most perplexing true crime cases. Your support helps us continue to bring you these fascinating stories. As we reach the end of this journey into the chilling tale of Zodiac, one thing remains undeniably clear: this was no ordinary killer. His crimes were not just about the brutality of his actions, but about the mind games he played with the world. He thrived on the attention, the fear, and the chaos he caused. His letters, his cryptic codes, his taunting of the police, all pointed to a mind that reveled in its own mystery. But while we may never know the true identity of Zodiac, the legacy he left behind is a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lie behind the most ordinary of faces. The crimes of Zodiac were horrific, but they were also an eerie reflection of the psychological manipulation and power plays that can exist in the mind of a serial killer. His need for recognition, for control, made him one of the most notorious criminals in history. Though we may never fully understand his motivations, one thing is certain: his actions left a lasting impact on the world and our perceptions of criminal psychology. So, what can we take away from this? Perhaps it's the realization that justice is not always swift, and some mysteries may remain unsolved. But it also teaches us about the power of persistence, the determination of those who refuse to give up, even when the odds seem impossible. As we continue to search for answers, we must remember that some stories, no matter how dark, shape the way we understand crime and its aftermath. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into true crime mysteries. Your support helps us bring more stories to life. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones that remain hidden in plain sight.